Welcome to Afghan News with Mohsen Jamal. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said Friday that the United States had held a preliminary meeting with representatives of the Haqqani network, a Taliban-affiliated militant group. The revelation came soon after Clinton in Islamabad with a heavyweight team of U.S. military intelligence leaders warned that tough action would have to be taken against Afghan and Pakistani militants if they did not cooperate in efforts to stabilize Afghanistan and pursue peace. Clinton was asked at a roundtable with journalists about reports that U.S. officials had met with Haqqani representatives directly, even as Washington demanded that Pakistan take a tougher line on the group. No negotiations are underway, she added. A senior U.S. official said later the meeting took place in the summer before September's attack on the U.S. embassy in Kabul that U.S. officials have linked to the Haqqanis. They said the meeting had been organized by Pakistan's powerful spy agency, the Director of Inter-Services Intelligence, which U.S. officials have repeatedly charged with playing a double game with Islamist militants and working with the Haqqanis. As many as 24 Taliban insurgents were killed and 10 captured by security forces in Afghanistan, authorities said Saturday. In a statement, the Afghan Interior Ministry said that Afghan National Police, Afghan Army and coalition forces have launched 5 joint operations in Kabul, Ghazni and Kandahar provinces, killing 24 armed insurgents and detaining 10 suspects, 12 AK-47s, 3 pistols, 1 machine gun, a vehicle, 568 bullets, 100 kilograms explosives and 2 kilograms hashish were seized. Taliban militants have not commented on the issue yet. NATO says numerous insurgents have been killed in an airstrike in a southern Afghan province. The U.S.-led coalition said Friday that 2 suspected insurgents were also detained following the airstrike in Zabul province's Tarangwa Jaldak district. NATO says coalition and Afghan forces carried out the strike targeting a group of Taliban fighters, but didn't give a precise number for killed insurgents, and it was unclear when the strike took place. The international force has been embroiled in a decade-long war against the Taliban and affiliated insurgents. NATO is also training Afghan forces so that they can assume full security responsibilities by the end of 2014, when the alliance plans to have withdrawn all its combat forces in the country. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is urging Afghanistan's Central Asian neighbors to play a role in securing and rebuilding the war-torn nation. Clinton told an audience in Tajikistan on Saturday that Afghanistan's reintegration into the regional economy would be critical to its recovery, as well as improving conditions in surrounding countries. She said that historically Afghanistan has been a place where many different nations have vied for power and influence. Clinton also says she will raise the issue of human rights when she meets with leaders in the region. Clinton is visiting Tajikistan and Uzbekistan this weekend as she wraps up a South and Central Asia tour focused on securing and stabilizing Afghanistan. The U.S. President Barack Obama has confirmed that all 39,000 U.S. troops still stationed in Iraq will be withdrawn by the end of the year, bringing to an end an almost 9-year presence in the country since the 2003 invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein. Obama's statement on Friday ended months of speculation over whether Washington would continue to base forces in the country beyond the end of the year. Departure date set in place by Obama's predecessor, George W. Bush. Shortly after a private video conference with Nouri al-Maliki, the Iraqi Prime Minister, Obama said in his statement at the White House that after nearly 9 years, America's war in Iraq will be over. The U.S.'s military role in Iraq has been mostly reduced to advising the security forces in a country where levels of violence had declined sharply from a peak of sectarian strife in 2006 to 2007, but attacks remain a daily occurrence. More than 4,400 American military personnel have been killed since the U.S.-led invasion in March 2003. NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen says the military alliance plans to wrap up its air campaign in Libya on October 31st following the end of fighting in the North African country. Rasmussen's comments on Friday followed a meeting of the alliance's governing body, which took into account the wishes of Libya's new government and of the United Nations, under whose mandate NATO carried out its operations. He said NATO would likely make a formal decision to end the mission next week. Rasmussen said NATO had no intention of leaving any residual force in or near Libya, adding that it was up to the new government to decide whether to launch an investigation into the hazy circumstances of Gaddafi's death. Libya's national transitional government is expected to declare the country liberated on Sunday following the death on Thursday of Muammar Gaddafi, the country's former leader, and the end of fighting ensued. The United Nations Security Council has passed a resolution calling on Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh to end deadly attacks on anti-government protesters and step down. The resolution, unanimously agreed by the 15 members on Friday, strongly condemns government violence against demonstrators and backs a Gulf Cooperation Council peace plan under which Saleh would end his 33 years in power. The Security Council's strongest pronouncement yet on the Yemen crisis called on Saleh to keep a promise to immediately sign the GCC plan, paving the way for a peaceful power transition without further delay. Following the resolution, the United States called for the transfer of power to begin immediately. Saleh has said he agrees to the plan by the 6 Gulf states but has refused to sign it or implement any of its provisions. Deaths have been reported during the latest protests in Syria, including up to 16 in the flashpoint central city of Homs, according to activist groups. 2 people were shot dead on Friday in Homs by security forces manning a checkpoint, while 14 more killed as they participated in mass protests, the opposition local coordination committee said. Another civilian died when security forces opened fire on a funeral procession in the southern Daraa region, and 2 more people died in the central province of Hama, according to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Some protesters drew inspiration on Friday from the death of Muammar Gaddafi, the toppled Libyan leader, as the country's opposition called for fresh protests in support of the Libyan people and against Assad's government. Pakistan, Morocco, Togo and Guatemala were elected on Friday to the 15-nation UN Security Council for 2012 and 2013, and Islamabad's invite said he looked forward to working with fellow council member India. The race for a 5th council seat representing Eastern Europe was adjourned until Monday after neither of the 2 candidates, Azerbaijan and Slovenia, was able to win a 2/3 majority of the General Assembly after 9 votes. The Security Council is the powerhouse of the United Nations with the ability to impose sanctions and dispatch peacekeeping forces. There are 5 veto-holding nuclear-armed permanent members of the Council: the United States, Britain, France, Russia and China, and 10 temporary elected members without vetoes. Lebanon, Nigeria, Gabon, Bosnia and Brazil come off the Council in January, while the 4 temporary members that will remain through 2012 besides India are Colombia, Germany, Portugal and South Africa. In that, Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, the 83-year-old defense minister and first in line of succession to become King of Saudi Arabia, has died. According to Saudi media reports, Sultan was on a visit to the United States for a medical test when he died on Saturday. Reports said with the Saudi state television saying his funeral would be held on Monday. Analysts believed he had been suffering from a form of dementia, and a March 2009 U.S. diplomatic cable released by WikiLeaks said he was, for all intents and purposes, incapacitated. He received a diagnosis of colon cancer in 2004. With Sultan's death, his brother Prince Naif bin Abdulaziz, the longtime Minister of Interior, becomes next in line to rule after King Abdullah. Sultan's official birthday in the kingdom is January 5, 1928, but some Western analysts believe he was actually born in 1924. And that's all for now. Thanks for staying with us.